Welcome to another edition of In Focus. Our topic today is Space Challenge for School Kids. The government's think tank Niti Aayog's ATL Innovation Mission and ATL Tinkering Labs ATLs have joined hands with the Indian Space Research Organization, that's ISRO, and the Central Board of Secondary Education CBSE to launch ATL Space Challenge 2021 for young students during the World Space Week from October 4th to 10th. The Space Challenge is being done to commemorate the contribution made in the field of space science and technology. Students can check the ATL space module to understand more about the concepts of the themes. There are 4 themes to choose from. The true power of ATL Innovation Mission is creating a platform for diverse stakeholders to come together to enable innovation and entrepreneurship. So let us get started with the people that matter with this idea to help us get a better perspective, not only for our viewers, but also for young minds watching this particular program. I've got an eminent panel joining us this afternoon on this program. Dr. Abhay Jere, Chief Innovation Officer, Ministry of Education, joining us this afternoon. I've got Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, Director Academic CBSE, joining us, and R. Ramanan, former Mission Director, ATL Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, joining us this afternoon. Let me start first by asking you about this ATL Space Challenge 2021. Let me first come to all the 3 guests. Good afternoon to you. Let me first come to Dr. Abhay Jere. Throw some more light when it comes to this particular challenge that's been opened up. Which are the children that could be a part of it? Is it open for every school, children, teachers? Can individuals take part in it? Broadly explain, what exactly is this particular ATL challenge that's been put together?
Thank you, Bhaja. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to this program and organizing this initiative. This initiative has been actually championed by Niti Aayog. I belong to Ministry of Education, and I think more than me, Dr. Ramanan will be in a better position to talk about this challenge because he has led Niti Aayog for more than 3 years. Led ATL Innovation Mission for more than 3 years. He has been the person who has conceptualized the entire ATL Innovation Mission, which has now established so many ATL labs across the country. So I think more than me, when we have Dr. Ramanan on this panel, the most appropriate person to answer this question will be Dr. Ramanan.
Okay, Mr. Ramanan, how would you look at this? The space challenge that ATL Innovation Mission has put together in collaboration with ISRO and CBSE. How do you see it? Explain the broad contours for our viewers who don't have any idea of this particular challenge that exists, and how could they be a part and parcel of it, be it schools, be it teachers, be it even students who are watching this particular program. I will ask you to unmute yourself, Mr. Ramanan.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share a few thoughts, and thank you, Dr. Abhay Jere, for your initial comments and redirecting the question to me. Of course, as he mentioned, I've been associated with the ATL Innovation Mission over the last 4 years since its inception, and now it has a new mission director. But the whole concept of the ATL Innovation Mission was one of the major important things was how do you create a culture of innovation in our young school students across the length and breadth of our country. And, we are talking about India becoming an innovative country, a country of startups, a country of entrepreneurs. But in order to do all of that, first you have to imbibe the spirit of innovation in our young students. And we have more than 1.4 million schools in our country, more than 10,500 engineering institutions, and more than 39,000 colleges. So this imbibing the spirit of innovation, a culture of problem solving, and creating an innovative mindset using the technologies of tomorrow. Technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, or augmented virtual reality. These are available as do-it-yourself kits in over 10,000 tinkering labs today, spread across 715 districts. And more than 4.5 million students are now having the chance to tinker and play with these technologies. Now, ATL Innovation Mission has also launched into a major partnership with ISRO and of course with CBSE, who have always supported ATL Innovation Mission in all its initiatives. And one of the ways of provoking young students into problem solving and innovative thinking is to launch challenges that will enable them to come in small groups, create prototypes of solutions, leveraging these technologies, and be able to display their innovation and thereby create a great momentum in the innovation. And that's what this particular program is designed to do. The collaboration with ISRO in an area which is very critical to India, and that is the space sector, which has opened up dramatically in the last year due to the liberalization from the government, and private sector is now going to play an important part of it. The space sector affords huge opportunities for innovation in 4 areas. That's what the ATL Innovation Mission and ATL Tinkering Lab Challenge, along with ISRO and CBSE, is focusing on. And that is, how do you explore space? You know, exploration of space is becoming such a big thing, and as you have been seeing in the news. Second is reaching space. What are the tools, technologies that are available, launching satellites and so on and so forth. Third is inhabiting space. That is now becoming a reality of being able to occupy space and therefore be able to think about new ways and innovative ways of addressing the challenges of inhabiting space. And fourth is leveraging space technology and satellite technology for applications that will be very relevant to India, whether it is in agriculture or in water management or in disaster management and so on. So the children will create solutions for these problems. And this competition is open not just to the ATL Tinkering Labs, but to the entire community. And that's why the partnership with CBSE is so important. The whole community of schools, all the schools can apply for this particular challenge.
Okay. Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, how have CBSE schools welcomed this particular idea? Is there, are they gung-ho about it, especially in the first place, considering that science and technology, has many takers, but there are also equally people who, who are a bit apprehensive about, science and technology and, putting their hands into it. So how's been the response? Is it been mixed, or are students and teachers and schools gung-ho about it? Well, I would ask you to first unmute yourself, Dr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, please.
CBSE schools have received this challenge wholeheartedly.
Okay.
And all the schools are very happy to promote this mission. Students of class 6 to 12 are entitled to participate in this competition. And it has created a huge culture of innovation in the CBSE affiliated schools, which is going to spread across all the boards in the country and all the schools across the country. So it's a very welcome step initiated by Niti Aayog and ISRO. CBSE is happy to support and partner with this huge mission. And a lot of children are able to get benefit out of it. Okay. The culture of innovation is coming to the CBSE schools as well as the schools in the country, which is a very welcome step.
Okay. Mr. Abhay Jare, when one looks at this particular, the tie-up that's there between ISRO, CBSE, ATL Tinkering Lab, in the field of education, how do you look at it, the broader contours of, this particular initiative?
Very interesting question. So basically, till date, unfortunately, our education system is based on swallow and vomit rote learning kind of a mechanism, right? And there is hardly any scope for creativity.
Okay.
Promoting these kind of challenges are pushing our students to think out of box, to think creatively. So if you really look at the thinking ability processes, so there is a very famous pyramid called as Bloom taxonomy pyramid, which has 6 different levels. The topmost level, which is there, is evaluate and create. Create is the topmost level. While the bottommost level is more of an understanding and applying kind of a thing, or just reading, reciting, reproducing. So currently, due to this swallow and vomit kind of a system, what has happened? Our children are getting stuck to these bottom 2 layers of remembering and understanding. And unfortunately, very few of them excel to evaluate and create kind of a level. Now, through these kind of challenges, students are pushed to think out of box. Students are pushed to get into problem solving, because unfortunately, our current systems, and that is what this new education policy is now focusing on, if you really look at the new education policy document, there is huge emphasis on problem solving. There is huge emphasis on design thinking. There is huge emphasis on critical thinking, creativity, innovation. And I believe that challenges like this are going to be really critical moving forward. And Atal Tinkering Lab or Atal Innovation Mission are doing such challenges. Ministry of Education, our MIC, Innovation Cell, are also doing such major challenges. For example, now with CBSE, about a couple of months back, we have actually started training of 50,000 CBSE teachers as innovation ambassadors, where we are training teachers on design thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, IPR, how to identify an idea, how to handhold an idea, how to take idea logically forward, how to convert an idea into a prototype. If you have a prototype, then how, and if that prototype is promising, whether you can go ahead and register a startup. If you have to register a startup, what kind of process you will need to follow. So what we are trying to do through all these challenges, through all these mechanisms, is to take away our students, our educational systems, from chasing grades and marks to chasing ideas and new, what we can say, new creativity and towards new thought processes. That is what this is all culminating into. So I congratulate ATL, Atal Innovation Mission, for doing it. And yes, together there is enough scope for all of us to do as much as possible, because at the end of the day, the IP creation, that is intellectual property creation from this country, is still very low as compared to some of our competing countries globally.
Mr. Ramana, when one looks at especially the themes on which students can approach or students can take it, what are the themes that are available for the students, and can they also participate individually, or is it mandatory that you need to have a group, say, of what is the group that's allowed there? But coming first to the themes, how many themes are there, broader themes on which the kids could, or schools, teachers along with mentors could come together and pick up?
Yeah, actually we encourage students to form teams, and typically a team of 3 is what is recommended. Okay. Because whenever you talk of innovation today, you need a combination of skills. You need some people who are very good in conceptualizing, some people who are very good in prototyping and the technical part of it, some people who are very good in presenting the idea and communicating that idea very well. Because all of these go towards making an innovation. And the theme in this is to see what are the innovations, and we are leaving it completely to the imagination of the young students. What are the applications they see, or what are the innovations they see in those 4 areas that I talked about: exploring space, reaching space, inhabiting space, or leveraging space for the benefit of mankind or humanity. And one can think of many innovations in all of these areas, whether it is launching a satellite, a mini satellite. There are many students now, for example, who are ready to make a satellite which can be launched along with one of the mother vehicles of ISRO. And also the other idea is, as Dr. Jere rightly pointed out, we are bringing all the stakeholders together. So we are having, for example, AICTE, CBSE, teachers of change and mentors of change, assisting the young students in being able to think creatively about these innovations. And the third thing that, as you may have seen in the photographs and some of the illustrations here, 70% of our Atal Tinkering Labs are in girls and co-ed schools, and 70% of them are in government-aided schools. And what we are encouraging through this is all the schools in tier 2, tier 3 districts, because innovation comes from anywhere and everywhere. And many of them are able to identify problems which they can solve using space technology. And that is why the entire community of schools from CBSE and everyone will be responding to this challenge. And we have the Mentors Network and AICT Mentors Network and ISRO Mentors Network who will all be assisting in that.
Okay. Now looking at the larger picture, CBSE schools coming into play in this, you mentioned about, the schools showing a lot of interest, a lot of buzz. But purely from a perspective of, schools in urban cities versus schools in rural cities, how's been the response? We heard about a 70-70 ratio when it comes to government schools, but what's been the ratio when you purely from an urban versus rural perspective when it comes to CBSE schools with regards to this project?
Schools in the rural area is also equally enthusiastic in participating in this kind of innovative mission. So this is giving a wonderful opportunity to the students and, opening up of their minds and give them a good platform to be part of the innovation. And 21st century skill development is another advantage for the children. So children are becoming lifelong learners, critical thinkers and problem solvers, and it's giving a wider platform, very good platform. Children from both rural as well as urban areas are equally enthusiastic to participate in this launch.
Okay. Dr. Abhay Jared, does this idea actually promote or help learning become a bit more enjoyable and a bit more engaging?
Yes, absolutely. And that has to be how it should be, right?
Okay.
But we need to ensure that learning is not a very boring thing where students cannot relate to what they are learning. Here, by doing large number of projects, by actually working on some ideas, you are not only learning just concepts. For example, if you are working on a satellite or something of that, a miniature satellite, then you are learning electronics, you are learning physics, you are learning mathematics. It's a comprehensive learning which happens, and that learning is just not theory, but you actually start correlating that learning with application. That is very, very critical. So students actually start visualizing or understanding that yes, they are doing a particular task. What is the utility of the particular task? And if they perform that task successfully, then what they are going to achieve out of it, and that's where the entire problem solving skills come into picture. Because currently, till date, what has happened is that when we have problems, we start looking at others, that someone will come forward and solve our problems. We will start either looking at government or some NGO or Western world technologies or something of that sort. Now what we are doing through these challenges, through these systems, is to actually push our own youngsters that go ahead, identify the problems around you, and then you have to actually solve your own problems and don't look at others to come and solve your problems. And through this, you will actually able to actually generate ideas, which will not only be locally relevant, but may have even global relevance. So that is what we really need to now do. And I think challenges of this type, for example, everyone, if you really look at toy industry, and if you really look at toy market which is out there, in India, the current toy market is about $1.5 billion toy market. But if you look at the imports which we are doing, about 85% to 90% of our toys are imported, right? And many of those toys are really board games and some basic toys with basic mechatronics. Can't we produce those toys? We can certainly produce those toys. So actually, Honorable Prime Minister came up with this toy mission, and we did a toy hackathon, a challenge or a toy hackathon about 3 months back. And the kind of response which we received for toy hackathon from young kids was phenomenal. And the kind of toys which they conceptualized based on Indian ethos, Indian civilization, which you will never get in the market, So we are creating our own niche also. So these kind of challenges is an opportunity to create our own niche, to create our new concepts. Otherwise, if you look at current market, you will have toys based conceptualized by Disney's or Japanese toys or Doraemon's, those kind of things. But you will never have toys in large numbers, which are based on Indian ethos, Indian civilization. So through these kind of challenges, so one of the challenge like ISRO, where we are actually challenging students to think about space technologies. The other challenge is on even toys also, where we are asking students to think about what kind of toys they can. So there are enough opportunities out there. And I think Government of India is doing a fantastic job in capitalizing on these opportunities.
Okay. Time for us to slip into a short breather here. On the other side, we'll discuss this particular ATL Tinkering Lab and this particular module that they have brought out for the students. But on the other side of this short break, stay tuned on DD India.
नमस्ते इंडिया
नमस्ते लैंड
मरहबन इलल हिंद
जरी इंडिया
सलाम इंडिया
नमस्ते इंडिया
नमस्कार भारत
मुई
Nous
इंडिया
sommes l'Inde.
नहनु हुनूर
इंडिया
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
हिंदियान
सलाम हिंदुस्तान
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to our program In Focus. Today's discussion is about space and children, especially from CBSE schools, being encouraged to be a part of the ATL Tinkering Labs there. ISRO, CBSE, all becoming a part of this particular project, where we are looking at new young minds to come and be a part of this particular project there. We've still got all our three guests joining us this afternoon. Let me once again come to Mr. Ramanna. You know, purely in terms of an eligibility, you know, you made a mention roughly about eligibility with regards to not only ATL schools that are associated with, but also open for other schools. But what are the other eligibility criteria that one needs to follow, or especially viewers who are watching this program need to, you know, get a grip of if they want to be a part of this particular project?
Well, the only eligibility criteria is that you have to have a great idea to submit an innovation. This is open to all the students, as I understand, across all the schools. You need to form a team of about 3 people. You will need to identify an idea, and then you will need to create a prototype of a solution. There is a video of the prototype that the students will take and upload it onto the ATL website, the link that has been provided. And there will be a small presentation that will be attached to it. There will be an evaluation of all of these by an esteemed jury appointed by ATL Innovation Mission, CBSE and ISRO, and then the winners will be declared. And of course, you know, everybody who has a chance to create an innovation, that innovation is also on display. The whole idea is not just to recognize a small set of winners. That's not the objective of this. The objective is to galvanize large number of innovations and large number of students to participate in this between grade 6 to grade 12, and they will be backed, and it requires a lot of backing by the teachers and the principal to encourage the students, because, you know, very often, as Dr. Jere pointed out, and as also Dr. Joseph pointed out, this enthusiasm of the students need to be backed with appropriate support from the teachers, the mentors, and so on. And all of these become the criteria. And I think one important point that I would like to add, based on what Dr. Jere also mentioned earlier, in this COVID-19 year, last year and the year before, many students could not go to schools. So what the Atal Tinkering Labs in conjunction with CBSE and other partners launched a series of Tinker from Home modules, which included game development, app development, 3D design, simulation, game simulation, and so on. And artificial intelligence, these basic and research modules, advanced modules were launched. And the whole idea was to educate the students and prepare them for such challenges. And so now this challenge gives them an opportunity to apply everything that they have learned. As Dr. Jere said, you not only learn physics, chemistry, maths, but also these other modules, and they will apply this to the technology. And these modules were launched for all the schools. It was not just for Atal Tinkering Lab schools. So every school and all the CBSE and Kendriya Vidyalaya and all the schools have access to this through the websites. So this will be a culmination, in a manner of speaking, an intermediate culmination of many things that they have learned, and they will be able to apply and submit the challenge.
Okay, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, when one looks at the buzz that's been created, you talked about schools, CBSE schools showing keen interest when it comes to this this particular module, but purely in terms of application or applying for this, are there many questions that are coming, especially when it comes to how, or the 5 W's and 1 HSV journalists put it, coming out in large numbers, especially when it comes to students, teachers, even schools wanting to apply for this?
Well, while getting into the lab activities, students are getting equal opportunity for experiential learning.
Okay.
It's a very good opportunity for the students to experience and apply in the real life scenario. The experience which the children are getting is very useful to lead a successful life in their later part of life. There are many challenges, capacity building of the students and teachers. In that purpose also, Niti Aayog and Atal Innovation Mission, they are conducting so many training programs. CBSE is organizing similar training programs for the students. So huge capacity building of the teachers and students are happening side by side. So by participating in the experiential learning journey, children are able to think, innovate, and act. They are getting very good opportunity to develop social skills as well as scientific skills in their life, which in turn will transform the lives of so many people in the days to come. In the areas of science and technology, agriculture, animal husbandry, in all these areas, the huge changes are going to happen in the days to come by bringing innovation in the classrooms of the schools. So in the long run, we are going to immensely benefit by the program introduced by the government of India. Okay. The quality of life of common man will naturally going to change. Everything depends upon the thinking cultivated in the minds of individuals. So that thinking cultivation is happening through the activities in the adult tinkering labs.
Okay. Dr. Abhay Jere, when one looks at today's world, where most of the answers that we have, we rather bank on, Google to give us these answers, or Google to be that problem identifier when it comes to, most of the problems that we face. Do you now feel schools need to undergo a similar change? They not only need to be, problem identifiers, they also need to be problem solvers in this age of innovation.
Yes. Now we have to actually ensure that all our kids emerge as problem solvers.
Okay.
And for that we are doing multiple activities. Because till date, as I was saying earlier also, till date, all our schools and students, teachers, even parents are chasing marks and grades. How much percentage you got, how much percentage he got, what was his rank. School will say that we had 100% success ratio in passing, or we had 2 people in merit list or 3 people in merit list. Have you heard schools saying in large scale that we have submitted so many patents, or we have filed so many patents, or we have actually incubated so many startups? Our students and our teachers are working on innovative projects which can actually result in a startup. So that is not happening at a scale which it should happen. So, and if you really look at, and I will be very brutal here, and I talk about this when I speak on different forums. So if you really critically analyze who are the idea killers, if you ask, then I can safely say that teachers in schools and parents are, what we can say, elders at home. Because if a student or a youngster goes with really out-of-box solution or suggestion or idea, many times teachers or parents say to that student, don't talk big, tell me how much marks you have got. Not studying and just talking big and talking about different ideas. So that mindset actually starts eventually killing out-of-box thinking, killing creativity, killing good ideas. And now, through all such initiatives, we have to educate our teachers, we have to educate our parents, we have to educate our school management, school system, that let's chase great ideas.
Okay.
Let's give students to think out of box, opportunity, that freedom to think wild, and not only just solve some mundane problems which are around us, but actually take challenges which are extremely difficult even to solve, because they can think out of box. Many times people like us with gray hairs are not really very out of box thinkers. These children which don't have any baggage have the ability to think out of box. And recently for that, to actually test this, Ministry of Education, in coordination with the BPR and the Ministry of Home, we have actually launched a challenge called as Manthan. And it is on cyber in collaboration with BPR and the Police Bureau, where we are challenging students, technology students, engineers, to really come up with an innovative solution for really very difficult problems to solve. Problems related to identity, problems related to theft, problems related to cyber because we as country, Bharat, we are facing a lot of those challenges also. So we should, at school level, we should push students to get into problem solvers, but as students mature, we should actually challenge them with hard problems to solve, so that eventually we as a generation, as a society, emerge as knowledge-based society, as knowledge-based economy.
Mr. Ramanna, when one looks at the Atal tinkering labs purely in terms of growth and footprints that it has left, across the many states and union territories of India, give us a broader picture when it comes to the Atal tinkering labs, the progress that it has made over the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, thank you. I think the progress has been quite remarkable, thanks to the support that Atal Innovation Mission has got, not only from the Government of India, but from various partners. Today, we have more than 10,000 schools who have been selected to have Atal Tinkering Labs, and more than 8,700 schools already have it running for quite some time. So we have still about 1,300 schools out of these 10,000 who have been selected, who will probably get implemented in this particular year. More importantly, the Atal Tinkering Labs we have taken special consideration to see that it is spread across the country. So 7 out of the 715 districts, more than 680 districts have Atal Tinkering Labs. And out of the 115 aspirational districts that we have, 115 of 715 districts are aspirational districts, 106 of them have Atal Tinkering Labs. So the idea is to enable these access to the tinkering labs in every district. Secondly, every tinkering lab, even though we give them the specific, about 20 lakhs of grant for setting up the lab, every school commits to having other schools around in their neighborhood to have access to these labs. So that, that voluntary access, because this is after all government initiative and government money that is going into the labs. So I would say the side effect of having Atal Tinkering Labs, these 10,000 tinkering labs, would be at least about 30-40,000 schools would already be having access to all these Atal Tinkering Labs. Secondly, we established a Mentors of Change network, one of the largest such mentor of change networks probably anywhere in the world. We have more than 5,000 mentors associated with our Atal Tinkering Labs.
Okay.
Now, what does this mentoring mean? They're all associated with one or more tinkering labs in a dedicated manner, spending more than 6 to 8 hours per week in being able to help the problem solving mindset and bridging this gap the teachers may have, the students may have today in the knowledge of these latest technology like 3D printing, robotics, or IoT. And all of these mentors of change are from the industry or from the academia or from the government, at very senior positions. And we have all of these mentors who are playing a big role. And to give some structure to all of this, we have identified regional mentors of change coordinators and regional teachers of change coordinators based upon exemplary mentoring and exemplary access to Atal Tinkering Labs and the performance on Atal Tinkering Lab in a particular district. So as a result of which, we are able to now have a hub and spoke type of arrangement by which those tinkering labs which are lagging behind in terms of support or something can have access to it. And I just want to make one more additional point that Professor Jere brought out very nicely. He talked about, how do we involve the parents, for example, in appreciating the innovation being created by the students. So we run what is known as an Atal Tinkering Marathon every year, where in the last marathon, more than 50,000 students participated, more than 8,000 innovations got created, and more than 200 students got selected among the top. But every school will run this Tinkering Marathon Day and invite all the parents, the teachers, the students to see the innovations created by their school. And out of that, they select 10 of them and submit it to the Atal Tinkering Lab. So this sort of recognition, what has happened is many schools have found that it is not necessarily the high academic performers who are creating the best innovation. Some of the other students whom they thought were no good, they are creating some of the best innovations. And suddenly the teachers have realized and everybody has realized that their children or their parents have realized their children have something wonderful in them. And that is spurring this whole spirit of innovation and focus on innovation even more. And finally, that one point is some of our best innovations have come from, tier 3 cities and from rural areas. For example, from Thoothukudi, we had one girls' school which created a solar panel IoT-based irrigation management system. And from Bilaspur and from a Naxalite-prone area, we have got some of our best innovations in terms of renewable energy and robotic-based waste management. So these are the examples that really encourage us in this whole Atal Tinkering Lab mission and the innovation mission. And so I think this is spreading very fast, and it would not be, it is my hope that every school has an Atal Tinkering Lab or has access to an Atal Tinkering Lab in the near future.
Okay. Dr. Emmanuel, when one looks at purely in terms of, a rise in popularity when it comes to, say, a project-based learning or a design thinking, do you see there has been a quantum jump in the last 4 to 5 years?
Yes, definitely there is a change in the teaching learning happening in the schools across India.
Okay.
Experiential learning, joyful learning, project-based learning, these are all various ways of bringing innovative pedagogy in the teaching learning process. So pedagogy is at the center of teaching learning, and it connects the concepts with the real life scenario. How efficiently a concept can be taught in the classroom is decided by the innovation in the pedagogy adopted by the teacher. So project-based learning is a very good mechanism to bring those kind of innovation as well as connections of the real life problem in the classrooms. So huge response from the teachers and students are visible, and CBSE is also supporting its affiliated schools and students by giving proper weightage of project-based learning in the internal assessment of the schools. Similarly, the activities like Atal Innovation Mission the activities organized by Atal Innovation Mission and other similar organizations are also getting merit in the exams conducted by the board through various projects and portfolios organized at the school level. So in the past, we have witnessed a lot of change in the teaching learning that is happening in the school, as well as a lot of encouragement from the side of the teachers and the side of the parents for promoting the students in the new direction.
Okay. Time for us to slip here into a short breather once again. On the other side, we'll take a look at, is there the national education policy, the new national education policy, has it been instrumental in moving towards or changing of attitudes purely in terms of constructive towards learning over test taking? We'll discuss that on the other side of this short break. Stay tuned on DD India.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back once again to In Focus. Our topic that we are discussing today is about space challenge and space opportunities, especially in the field of space education for children, especially from the ATL Tinkering Lab, along with ISRO and CBSE schools being a part and parcel of it. We've got our three guests with us, joining us in the studio there. Let me come to Dr. Abhay Jere. Abhay, purely looking, Mr. Jere, purely looking at it from in terms of, constructive learning over test taking, that particular transformation or a change in attitude that one expected through the new national education policy. Do you see that, slowly, embedding there in schools across India?
Yes, certainly that is happening. This now the work on national education policy started in 2016 or so. By that time, the team at Ministry of Education was internally discussing a lot about how we can promote innovation, how we can promote ideation amongst our students, And at that time, the theme which was really emerging very, very strongly was that we have to ensure that we need to promote innovation aggressively. And so the officials at Ministry of Education, especially Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Higher Education at that time, said that we will not wait for the implementation of NEP, because implementation of NEP, release of NEP document and implementation of NEP document will take 2-3 years. I am talking about 2016, 2017. And they said that if we have decided that we have to promote innovation and entrepreneurship ideation across aggressively, then let's have a cell which is dedicated within the ministry or which is established within the ministry itself, which will work in area of innovation, ideation, entrepreneurship and so on. And that's the reason in 2017, 2018, a cell was started within Ministry of Education, which is called as Innovation Cell. I am heading that Innovation Cell to ensure that the concepts of ideation, concepts of innovations get propagated. Because what usually happens is that when people are talking about innovation, when people sit on high daises, in programs, they talk about innovation and entrepreneurship a lot. But if you talk to them in private, that what concrete steps they are taking to ensure that a sustainable innovation ecosystem gets established, then many of them don't have really great concrete answers. So a hand-holding has to be there. And it's better to start hand-holding as early as possible. So for last 3-4 years, through various initiatives, Ministry of Education, as well as ATL Tinkering Labs through ATL Innovation Mission, are doing multiple initiatives to hand-hold educational institutes so that a sustainable innovation ecosystem gets established. And once you have this sustainable innovation ecosystem, established in our educational institutes, then, as I said earlier, we will able to encourage students, we will able to push students to go towards experiential learning, towards problem solving, because then that ecosystem is there to support, you know. And I think now we have started bearing some fruits of what we have started about 3, 4, 5 years back.
Mr. Ramanna, purely in terms of school education, do you somewhere feel there has been, a paradigm shift, especially when it comes to school children now being taught more to, tackle problems more, faced in societies, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. That's where the new age of education is. That's where the new seeds of growth are when it comes to young minds that would lead India in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. And actually, it's so starkly evident over the last couple of years in terms of the changes that are sweeping our school landscape.
Okay.
I'm talking not just from an Atal Tinkering Lab or an Atal Innovation Mission point of view, but I'm seeing schools all over the country adopting this basic thing of stimulating creativity, stimulating critical thinking, stimulating logical decision making and problem solving through various initiatives that they themselves are now embracing. I've been over the last couple of months actually party to many schools who have invited me to address innovation events that is happening in their school, and that's a fantastic thing to see. And this is not just from private schools. We are talking of government schools, remote schools in Sikkim and Salem and so on and so forth. They're all engaged in it. I think the NEP 2020 has given a tremendous boost to completely have a paradigm shift in our educational processes, methodologies, pedagogy, as well as thinking. The words that you can see in NEP 2020 are completely problem-solving, innovative oriented. They're talking about inquiry-oriented, discovery-oriented, mindset changing, learner-centric. These are the actual words that are being used in NEP 2020 document. And the whole idea is get acquainted with problems that you see in and around the community that you are living in and try to solve those problems using technology that is becoming current.
Okay.
Now, the Atal Tinkering Labs is just one of the many initiatives that the government is doing along with CBSE and various other schools to stimulate this entire thing. And I am seeing a tremendous paradigm shift which is only becoming better and bigger as time passes by. So I'm sure this is going to have a tremendously positive impact in terms of the innovative culture and the innovative quotient of our country.
Dr. Emmanuel, innovation in schools, these are all things good to hear, but they require a lot of, consideration and also careful planning. Do you somewhere feel that we are in that right direction, especially when it comes to taking, especially taking innovation along and taking these two things, consideration, careful planning into the larger picture?
Yes, consideration, careful planning and proper implementation of the strategies are very, very important for taking it forward. So the new national education policy has given a clear mandate that the learning should be holistic, integrated, inclusive, enjoyable and engaging. So after the coming of the new national education policy, it has given a tremendous boost to the changing strategies in the school education activities. So capacity building at one end and proper planning, like for example, CBSE's program of designating all the principals as pedagogical leaders and encouraging them to develop pedagogical plans to integrate all these opportunities in the classroom transaction as well as school's annual calendar. Similarly, so many activities like students' enrichment activities like mathematical challenges, science exhibition, reading challenge, then Heritage India quiz, these kind of activities parallelly happening. These are all integrated with the teaching and learning, which is giving tremendous opportunities to the learner to develop in a holistic manner. Further, the changes in the assessment pattern brought in the school system, that is changing the traditional way of assessing students to competency-based assessment. So this is giving further boost to bring transformation in the school sector. So now the focus of assessment is the ability to apply the concept in the real life scenario rather than testing the memorization skills of the child.
Okay.
So with this change, further inquiry skills, application skills, these collaborative skills, critical thinking skills, all will be nurtured and developed among the children. So naturally, multiple dimensional change is happening in the teaching, learning, and assessment that is happening in the schools, and all the activities of the Adult Innovation Mission, National Innovation Mission, the Innovation Mission of the Ministry, all those external support is giving tremendous boost to the school system to bring lot of changes. Further, NCERT's learning outcome document from class 1 to 12 is also giving a proper direction to this changing strategy. Earlier, there was no such measurement tool applicable in the curriculum framework. Now, NCERT has come out with a learning outcome framework from class 1 to 12, wherein after learning a concept or lesson, what would be the outcome? This is clearly defined. Now we can measure the learning outcome after the teaching learning happening in the classroom. So in a way, all the integrated efforts are directing. There is a huge shift in the teaching, learning, and assessment that is happening in the school. And with passage of time, more and more competencies and skill sets in the learners will be built, which will in turn develop India as a developed nation.
Abhay Jare, I would give you the last word on this particular program here, purely in terms of the new education policy and this particular Atal Tinkering Lab, coming about this together, and purely in terms of a change, a paradigm change or a paradigm shift, especially when it comes to education policy. How do you see this amalgamation happening, and how do you see the way forward?
I believe the way forward is very, very positive, optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic. Because if you really look at the number of youngsters which we are the youngest country in a sense, with largest number of youngsters in the world. Our demographic dividend, which we talk about. Now we only need to ensure that we systematically channelize this demographic dividend into solving our problems. Because if we have, as you're aware, Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji always talks about $5 trillion economy. And if we have to really achieve this $5 trillion economy and subsequent maybe a $10 trillion economy in another 5 years, then I believe that we have to emerge as knowledge-based society. When we say about knowledge-based society, means what? We have to generate ideas. We have to generate ideas which are not only relevant locally, but they also have global relevance. We have to emerge as startup nation, in a sense, because there is no dearth of funding globally. If we have right kind of ideas, then I believe that there is enough money out there, investors out there, which are ready and very keen on investing in great ideas. So what we really need to do is to push our youngsters to think differently, and not only just think, come up with ideas, but handhold them very systematically to take those ideas logically forward. Because what you really see from many of these idea challenges, and I have been internally talking about it a lot, when I speak to colleges, I talk about it a lot, that yes, if you have a good idea, that's the first step, but you really need to also ensure that you have to take that idea logically forward and give all the required support in terms of ecosystem creation. So I believe that because of these multiple initiatives which Government of India is taking, that ecosystem, a sustainable ecosystem is getting created. So, and that ecosystem will help from ideation to actually taking ideas logically forward, getting them registers as startups, and taking these technology startups forward. And if we can do that at scale, then undoubtedly we will emerge as I said, knowledge-based economy society, and as a startup nation, which we all are dreaming of.
Okay. We'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate all three gentlemen for taking time out. Dr. Abhay Jare, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel and P. Ramanna for joining us this afternoon on In Focus. So that's the topic that we discussed today, purely in terms of not only Just looking at it purely from an ecosystem that's very much put in place, the new education policy giving us the window, the opportunity especially to move from test taking skills to constructive thinking in classrooms. But it's just not about an idea, it's about taking an idea, taking or helping that idea go to a logical conclusion that could help India and students in India look at the bigger picture of being the true citizens or true ambassadors of change. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of In Focus. Thanks for watching. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.